This episode is brought to you by Meet Cute Box. Meet Cute Box creates monthly themed date night boxes. Each box is handmade with care based on your membership profile with up to 4 items plus a love-inspired date night. What I love about Meet Cute Box is that inside every box, there are unique items gathered from local businesses around the world and packed together with a new theme every month, giving you a new surprise to enjoy. Memberships start at only $29.99 per month, with each box valued up to $100. To join today, visit meetcutebox.com. That's meetcutebox.com to receive a handmade box as early as next week. Meet Cute Box, the membership crate for you and your partner.
It's just funny. It's funny, the way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how?
Come here, though. Yeah, he's crazy, see? Who are you?
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Oh, well, hey there, friends. What is going on? Happy day to each of you. So thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Berardo podcast. I, of course, am your host, Tony Berardo. Today's a fun episode. Like most episodes, I say that. But today is a lot of fun because I actually talked to Nick Haubner, and we discuss a lot of different stuff. In fact, I'm going to have him back on in a couple weeks to discuss his ayahuasca experiences. He's had a lot of experiences with that, and I've always been curious about that myself. So more to come on that. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you get updates when I do launch that episode. But today's episode, we talk a lot about eating correctly, what it does to your body. But he's been vegan for quite some time, but now he's kind of done these different diets that kind of test the limits a little bit. It was interesting to hear about it, where he actually is a raw vegan. He's cooking, that's a little too extreme for me. So it was really cool to kind of hear that and the benefits of, cleaning out the body. And, the amount of gunk and goo kind of fills our gut and damages our gut lining and affects the digestive system and just all types of wild stuff. So it was a really interesting conversation. And again, like I said, he's going to be back on in a couple weeks. So just make sure you look out for that. But, without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Everyone, please help me welcome Mr. Nick Haubner. So, hey, man, thanks for coming back on the show.
Absolutely. My pleasure. It's been a long time, so I thought it was kind of cool, actually, that last time I was on, I talked about vegan stuff, vegan habits and such, and then it just so happens that we're talking about it in a different capacity, but same kind of theme.
Haubner.
For
some reason, it sounds like very Arnold Schwarzenegger to me. It
is German, so.
Oh, is it? All right.
Yeah.
Haubner. Really, the big reason I wanted to have you on, well, a lot of reasons, but one in particular, I've had some health scares lately. And, I've been vegan for, I think last time we talked, I might have been like a year in or something like that. So it's been good for me. No complaints on that front. Of course, as I've dived more into the culture, you pick up more things, you learn new things, and you get more, I would say, kind of embedded into the culture, not really on purpose.
Yeah.
Right. You kind of know what I'm talking about. It's like things start to happen. Like you care more about sentient beings, and then you start caring more about the earth and the planet. And then now, like, I'm going outside in my backyard with no shoes just so I could touch the soil. Like it's it's been elevated over the course of the year. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about that as well.
Okay. Yeah. I love that. And we'll get into it. It's like a symptom of this diet too. Like everything kind of trends even deeper into that experience.
That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you can, for the viewers that maybe didn't listen to the last episode we did, which I think was like 2-something years ago, it was before the pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think it was just in the beginning, right? It was like before any of us knew what was actually going on, and no one really knew anything about it. So
people still don't know anything about it.
Things are still being revealed, and we're figuring out that all sorts of interesting things hadn't occurred.
But if you can kind of lay a cliff notes of Nick, what you do and what your passions are and all that jazz, just so the viewers can get a little feel for you.
Yeah. So for the past decade, I've had the privilege of being able to work from home. I'd done a lot of work in the marketing world. So I do that. But one of my passions has always been self-development, self-growth. I'm just a huge reader. I love reading books, studying books from Eastern philosophy, religion, etc., all over the world, spirituality in general. And so back when I first moved to Florida, I live in California now. When I first moved to Florida, that was 9 years ago. Within about 6 months, through a very interesting and auspicious kind of story, which maybe we'll have to share someday. We'll do a whole segment on that if you want. But I got invited to a ceremony. And I don't know if you've ever had anyone on talking about an ayahuasca ceremony and ayahuasca in general, but I was invited to an ayahuasca ceremony. And I had back then, I had no idea about any of that. Like I didn't do any experimentation in my youth with anything really.
Like no drugs in general?
Not really, maybe twice. And I didn't really get into it. Where some of my friends, like they were, a lot of people around me were getting into it. I just didn't. And so it's kind of funny because I kind of went from like nothing to like the most intense experience of your life, having no frame of reference at all. And so, but I actually look at it as a great thing. And I had an incredible, just life-changing experience for me personally. And
wow.
From that point on, it kind of spun off into this deeper dive into spirituality, which kind of leads to more compassion for the world and for the environment, for animals. So inevitably, I went into more of a vegetarian style than vegan. And then for the past, is it 4 or 5 years? 5 years for sure, 5 or 6 years vegetarian. And then, vegan for like 3 years. And, there's been like, I've been vegan, but I haven't been a hardcore vegan. So there've been times where it's like, okay, once in a while,
I'll have an egg or something. Like that.
Yeah. But for the most part, I was doing that whole thing. And that like my biggest passion, like what I want to spread into the world too right now is not just like becoming the best version of yourself and being able to attract to you what you desire most in your life, through manifestation, through enhancing your mind and spirituality. But now more recently, which we're going to talk about, I'm excited about, is seeing the parallel, actually like the direct connection between what you put in your body, how you treat your body, and the enhancement of your spiritual experience, your mental experience, and also your emotional experience. Like it's so interesting how directly connected. We'll use a word, constipation. Constipation. A lot of people think about constipation in the gut, but actually, when we're talking about mucusless diet, constipation of the cells. And then I've had a lot of energetic and out of the physical realm experiences. So I actually can see how it's not just congestion and constipation within the physical cells, but also the energetic constipation. When you talk about chi or prana, we talk about stuck energies. What is that really? A lot of it's directly related to like what we eat too.
And if you can dive a little bit more into, what is it? The mucusless diet?
Mucusless.
Mucusless. Yeah.
So
dive more
like mucus. Yeah.
Right.
So diving into that, oh man. So I'm going to recommend some books too, because I'm still in my journey. I've consumed a few books at this point, but they explain it a lot better. So the one who really pioneered it was Arnold Ehret back in the 1900s. If you can believe, 100 years ago, he was talking about the falseness of certain diet fads that are being spread today, like the protein lie, that you need protein to create protein, which is as ridiculous as saying, a cow needs to drink milk to produce milk. A cow produces milk by eating grass all day. So the body's very capable of producing protein without eating protein. So, and you can do some research on that. It's a very interesting way. Some weird studies, they used to be able to get away with some, sick studies back in the, the day when they didn't have all the restrictions. But that's where the protein lie came from. This weird study about it.
All right. And so what was that book again that you recommended?
Okay, so it's the mucusless diet.
Right.
If you look up mucusless diet, so there's an interesting thing that happens. So I like going for the original stuff. So Arnold Ehret really pioneered this whole movement, healed thousands of people by moving them through a transition diet and then onto the mucusless diet. And then at the extreme level, I mean, some would call it extreme, but when you really get into this whole culture of, being purified by food, a lot of people will lead to literally just a fruitarian diet, living on fruit. Most people can't even fathom what that's like. That just sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Like, how can you live on that? What about vitamins? What about this? And so you have to really break down the barriers of what we've been told to believe about our bodies, and also start to explore what is really going on in our system. And at the fundamental core is our systems are clogged up. And so all disease, even a lot of people kind of have figured this out by now, or heard like all disease starts in the gut, right? But what does that really mean? And where it really goes is how much mucus and pus and toxins and poisons from medications, foods, vaccines. I mean, as children, we're pumped with a bunch of different vaccines right away. And as you know, like, there's different heavy metals and things in that need to be cleansed out of the system. So over our lifetime, a lot of things kind of get clogged up. And so it's funny. It's not funny, but it's really interesting. Most health crises happen right around this age, right around your late 20s, early 30s. Like, from what I've seen, not everyone, there's certain exceptions, but especially these days, like, that's when mine happen. That's when my girlfriend's happen. That's when a lot of friends of mine happen. Though, I mean, some friends have gotten cancer in their late 20s. It's just like, you're too young to be getting cancer. What's going on? And so what a lot of people don't understand is that that's happening because the system finally got clogged up to a point that it can't eliminate properly. And now those toxins are caked onto our system and leaking poisons, creating a perfect atmosphere for pathogens, parasites, and bad bacteria. And
I mean, that's when my Crohn's happened, was when I was in my late 20s.
Okay. Yeah. And that's an example too. Like, Crohn's too is a perfect example of, a digestive system that's been compromised.
Oh yeah.
So when we get into, the mucusless diet too, it's really simple. It's anything that, Everett will say, anything that's complicated is against nature. Anything that's simple is in alignment with nature. So if you can understand it fundamentally and almost intuitively, it just makes sense, then you know that you're on the right path. And so for me personally, when I read that book, it just clicked, because I've been on a healing journey for 2 years now. I got really, really sick, chronically ill in 2020. Interestingly enough, it had nothing to do with, the pandemic. It just, I got sick, and then I couldn't get healthy again. Like, I got really, really bad flu.
What was it, if you don't mind me asking? Was it just overall just sick, or did you get diagnosed with something?
I didn't get diagnosed with anything. I got like this terrible flu, which kind of kicked it off. Horrible flu. And then I never got, like, I kind of recovered from that, but I was put on antibiotics too. And that kind of that knocked me out. That was the final thing. And then I had like mold infection. Then I got, just everything kind of just bloomed within me. I had all this stuff happen to me.
And was your diet and your eating habits, I mean, was that kind of like an amusement park, or how were you?
It was, it pretty much was. It was a vegan diet, but I was eating pasta. I was eating like what a lot of vegans eat, the pastas.
The Western American veganism.
The Western American vegan diet, with the fake meatballs and the fake, we call it fake food. It really is fake. That's not food. Like, it's just it's so processed. It tastes delicious, but when you figure out what food really is and like what it isn't, like, meat, dairy, and grains are not food either. That's not food for humans. That's just so far outside of what our system is actually able to process and not turn into mucus and pus and clog us up. But those processed foods too are. And so a lot of times, you know how it is. I think we were just kind of talking about the culture of veganism. You get into it, you eat these foods because they're delicious, it's part of the whole community. Right. And you feel like you're doing a good thing, right? You kind of like morally feel good by eating this food. I'm satisfying a lot of the nutrition I think I need, protein, etc.
It's like when we recycle, like it just makes you feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though, like, if you know anything about recycling, it's not really doing anything.
Place.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
It just sounds, it's a marketing ploy to throw it on a plastic bottle so that way Coke and Pepsi could sell more shit. I mean, that's really, But anyway, go ahead.
No, you're right. It exactly is. Yeah. But it's doing something maybe for the animals, and actually it is doing something for the animals, but it's not doing anything good for us. And we really need to focus on creating the best possible environment in ourselves, because then we can really do work. I mean, and I'll get into a little bit more of my story too of the benefits. But like, it's amazing when you start eating in a way that's cleaning out your system. And then your system becomes much cleaner, like how you operate. Mental fog disappears, like just mental clarity, energy throughout the day, no naps needed. You can take a nap, but usually it's only 10, 15 minutes. And I actually should just kind of like get into that part of the story of it too. And then if you want. Yeah,
I'd love. Well, I want to hear about that more, and then I definitely want to hear about your ayahuasca experience as well.
Oh, okay, cool. We can talk about that for sure.
Cool.
So I've been at dozens of ceremonies at this point. So
right on. Cool.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about there. It's something that I don't usually, I haven't publicly talked about.
Well, I'm glad.
I wouldn't. It would be actually like a lot of fun. It's funny. Friends come up to me and they're like, "Oh, there's this really great podcast on Joe Rogan about ayahuasca. You should check it out," because they know I've been to a ceremony or something. And I was just talking to my girlfriend downstairs, which is funny, and she was like, "You should be the one to on the podcast talking." And I was like, "Yeah, from now I'm going to say that." It's like, if anything, what am I going to get out of a podcast?
Yeah, if anybody says, "Oh, you should listen to Joe Rogan," you should be, no, you should listen to what I said on the Barado podcast. That's
right,
what you should
exactly.
say.
And I'll send them a link.
Nice.
Yeah. So, okay. So the story is, this whole journey of healing, and I kind of had some like small breakthroughs, right? I do some sort of thing, and I was always on the fringe. I wasn't doing any Western medicine. I just knew that wasn't going to work for me. It didn't work for me. It's what got me sick. So I was like, I need to do other things. And I was fortunately surrounded by a community of people who were all into holistic care, from Ayurvedic doctors to shamans, etc. So I started doing kind of those things, which helped. And I got to this point this year where I was kind of at a plateaued state of not great health, but not deteriorating health. But I was exhausted. I had chronic fatigue. I had skin, eczema and stuff like that. I'm pointing my elbow. I don't even have it on my elbow, but I was most people know that's where it is.
It's the first spot.
But, yeah, it was actually on my shin. For me. But yeah, just like, skin. And then I'd have like these random like hives appear on my skin and then go, they go away within a half hour. But I just knew that wasn't regular. It was like my body was trying really hard to get rid of things. And even, it's probably hard to see in the camera, but I still I have like redness on my face that I'm excited about seeing like in 3 months, 6 months. We'll see how long it takes. But once the body clears, we'll see what happens.
And sorry to interrupt because I want to hear more about it, but a lot of people don't know. So when it comes to the body and the way we excrete, whether it's a virus, anything that's bad, it's always through the skin.
Yep.
It's the biggest organism that we have, and it's our defense mechanism essentially. So, but it's interesting because it's also our healing mechanism as well. Like it's the fastest healer in our body, and it could pretty much heal anything over time. And, I even had lung surgery, which we could talk about as well. But I had that, and what they did to my body, it was crazy. And the fact that my body heals and all I have is like 6 gnarly scars because of it, but what my body went through is crazy. But the whole point is, when you're sick or when you're trying to push out something out of your body, you'll always get these rashes. So more often than not, if you have something like that maybe looks like eczema, or it's a rash, or like an allergic reaction, it's so funny. Like if you're allergic to peanuts, some people obviously are deadly allergic, but most times if you're just allergic to something, you might get a little rash and you don't know what it is. And that's why it's important to kind of do these tests as well to see if you're allergic to things. But if you're in your diet and you're doing all the right things and you think you are, try switching it up. And then if you switch it up, keep it consistent. So that way, if something does happen to your skin and you notice a rash or more pimples than before, that's your hormones and everything else telling the body, all right, we need to get this out. We need to excrete this out. Right. And it does it through the skin. So it's a very telltale sign. That's why it's super important to, keep your body clean and know what's going in your body. So it's interesting you say that, because a lot of people don't like to talk about it, but everything's through the skin. Like you can know a lot of a perfect person's diet based off what their skin looks like. It's very interesting.
Yeah. That, and I'm glad you bring it up too, because it's like, if you see it coming and going, right? Like you had surgery or something and you start to see things and then it goes away after, days or weeks, right. Then you knew the body was doing its work and healing. But if it becomes chronic,
that's right,
then it's a clear sign that you're just clogging your body and your cells, really. And they're not able to actually push that out fully and heal, because a lot of times like eczema and stuff, it'll kind of flare up and then go down, right? It'll kind of like ebb and flow. Like, you think, oh, it's getting better. And then, 2 days later, it's back to being worse. It's because your body's still doing its work, but it's so clogged up, it just can't get all the junk out, and you're not doing it any help. And I didn't mention it, but like fasting is a major part of the mucusless diet. Is Rational Fasting is another book that I read from Arnold Ahret. And I've known a lot about fasting. In fact, gosh, we could get into a whole conversation about that, but my girlfriend would be better at that. She's done a 9-day dry fast, actually. I was here witnessing it. It's intense. It's incredible. Like,
wait, you stayed the whole time, 9 days, and she didn't kill you? That's,
that's
gnarly.
No,
right?
she rested a lot and did things like that. But it was, dry fast is, and she was hard dry fast, so no, not even touching water. So no touching water, no drinking water, no food, obviously. And just like what it did, it just cleansed her whole body. And now I wouldn't recommend that for most people. That's a limit for for a lot of people. Yeah, disclaimer, don't try that at home. But like doing water fast and juice fast and stuff can be incredibly beneficial. And we can talk about too what's called the transition diet, and that comes from Arnold Ahret. And that's really important too, because a lot of people might hear like, oh my gosh, like this diet sounds extreme. It's basically raw vegan minus a couple of foods that create mucus, like avocados, unfortunately, are mucus forming. I love avocados, so I haven't kicked them totally. Nice. But yeah, eating a lot of fruit, eating a lot of salad, and going that route. And so I was exposed to this, and when I read it, I clicked. I was like, I'm just going to do it. Fortunately for me, I didn't have to have a transition diet because I was already transitioning. Like I was eating lots of salads. On occasion, I'd have like, a vegan pizza or, some vegan ramen noodles. They were all organic though. So for me, it was like, it seemed healthy, but it wasn't necessarily helping me. So I just I dove in and I started doing just lots of fruit, lots of grapes and grape juice, which is kind of part of the whole thing if you read the book. And
do you juice your own?
I didn't juice my own. I bought organic grape juice. That was
the 100% real deal stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the 100%, not from concentrate.
Right.
And then we bought tons of grapes and just ate tons of grapes.
Nice.
But all sorts of fruit. Berries are really incredible for it too. Strawberries, blackberries, blueberries. And then having what he calls a broom salad. So you eat the fruits, and then the idea is that the fruit, the acids and the sugars are the most potent and intense cleansers. So they'll go in and like they just break up mucus like none other, but they also can kind of break up poisons and things like that. So at first, and a lot of people who try different fasts, juicing, etc., will do this for a day, wake up the next morning and feel like they got hit by a truck, and they'll feel terrible. They'll feel like, sicker. a lot of people will blame this on malnutrition or like, oh gosh, I need to eat, like, they get freaked out, not knowing that like people have survived without food for weeks, even months. So you're fine. It's not a deficit of food. What it is it's the body detoxing. And when the body, what happens, especially with fruit, is once it breaks down something in your system, because the sugars of the fruit is so easily digested, the poisons will also break up into the blood system. And so now your blood is circulating and you're feeling like crap, but it is still, your kidneys, everything's working to clean your blood from all these toxin poisons that got broken up. So,
and there is something to be said about that too. I keep interrupting you, sorry. But
no, you're good. Feel free to, because I can go on and on.
The detoxing aspect of it, it's similar to when you do these long fasts or, when you change up your diet, especially like, when your body's going through ketosis and different things like that.
Yeah.
You have what's called the keto flu, which essentially is just your body kicking what you've eaten before, and it's getting you into a different state. And I would imagine what you're speaking of is when that happens to your body when you're detoxing, think of it kind of like alcohol when you're hungover. When you're hungover, that's all a hangover is. A lot of people don't understand that. It's not because you drank a lot. It's because you drank. It's because you drank a poison, and your body is trying to cleanse and detox that poison out of your system. And that's the body's job. The body is to keep us alive. When your body's detoxing, typically, that's a good thing. Usually. Yeah. There's light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to detoxing, which is positive. You just got to look out for it, of course, and speak to a professional when things get a little squirrely. But
yeah, exactly. And that's the most important thing too, is like if, especially if you've been on a diet that hasn't really been serving you super well and you're just kind of finding this out, and then you try a fast or you try to eat fruit for one day, just one whole day, like your body's going to react. And so it's important not to try to push it beyond that limit. Break the fast if you need to, and but break it with foods that are serving you, salads and greens and things like that. And that's where kind of the whole broom theory, not theory, but the whole broom salad comes in, is the fruit goes in there, gets digested very quickly, within 20 to 30 minutes, fruits can be totally digested into the system, and it'll break up things. And then when you eat a salad that's got lots of fibrous things, like, you got celery, you got peppers, things like that, it kind of serves as a broom. It goes into your system and, pushes all of the stuff out and pushes it through your system.
Interesting. Now, is there in this book, because I know I read a lot of studies on it, but there's a lot of interesting studies relating to the order in which we eat food. So, for example, I've always been known to eat vegetables first.
Okay.
But, with this, it sounds like is there studies behind eating the fruit first? Is there, what's the science behind it? Do you know yet?
Yeah, you would want to eat the fruit first because it'll digest the quickest. And the thing is, if you ate vegetables, they'll digest a little bit slower, still faster than most things.
Right.
But what happens is, because of the nature of the fruit digesting so quickly, if you got the vegetables and then the fruit, sometimes the fruit can mix with that and create more fermentation than you'd like in your system. And so that's and if you know about fermentation, for anyone listening, fermentation happens best when there's lots of fruit sugars involved, right? Like you can ferment grape juice really quickly into an alcohol because of the natural sugars that are in there. So you're essentially looking at your system as the perfect fermentation containers, literally like this closed system that's nice and warm and it has all the bacterias in there. And so if you start to see the digestive system in that way, you'll start to think like, okay, I want to make sure that goes first and passes through my system as quickly as possible.
Very cool. That broom theory or analysis. Theory. But that's super interesting though. I never looked at it like that. And, you know, of course we're talking a lot about this stuff, and, it's not uncommon, right, to eat like this. Especially you look at like the blue zones over in Europe. I mean, there's plants, vegetables, fruits, like these type of things are the bulk of their diet. To have carbs and flour and sugars and stuff just doesn't really, it's not really in the nature of most countries. Right. And if it is, it's unprocessed, bread only has 3 ingredients. But over in America, go look at
it's terrible.
Yeah, go look at any of that stuff. You look at the back, there's more than 3 ingredients. My father cooks his own bread.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and that compared to like anything you get on the shelf, there's no comparison.
Yeah, I imagine taste-wise too.
It's night and day. Yeah, we don't buy bread anymore at the store.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Yeah, and then you look at that and you're like, well, how come Publix and Kroger? How come they don't? Well, because that bread that my dad makes lasts 3 days.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
that's why.
That makes sense.
All the processed shit and all the chemicals that are in there, it's to sustain the shelf life. Because if you're a Walmart or a Publix or a Kroger, and I owned a bread company, and I was like, hey, Mr. Owner of Publix, what they call the buyer in the business. Hey, Mr. Buyer, I have this great bread. It's only 3 ingredients. It's totally healthy. I make it at home. We're able to scale. We have employees of 20, 30, 40 people. We can give you 1,000 loaves of bread by today. Mm-hmm. The first thing they're going to ask you is, what's the shelf life?
Yeah.
Because if they buy 1,000 pieces of bread and then 500 of it gets sold in 2 days, now they have to discard 500 loaves of bread. So now they're losing all that money, and they're taking up real estate in the grocery game. All that space that could be there, it could be canned foods. It could be these processed breads that last days and weeks longer than the fresh stuff, and it sells more. And because of that, it's cheaper to mass produce, which means the profit margins are better, and it's all about money. So, that's why it's important, if you can, stay away from, like you said, all that processed stuff. But, when people are listening to this podcast episode in particular, and they're like, well, Nick, what you're talking about, it sounds great, but goddamn, that's difficult. And it is kinda, but the only reason it sounds funky is because you haven't done this for 20, 30 years. Everyone out there listening, we've been conditioned and trained to eat the food that's at the store. And over the last decade, things just keep getting worse and worse. We think it's going to get better, and you think the produce aisle is going to get bigger and bigger in the store. It's actually the opposite. That area is shrinking more and more, and we're getting more aisles of processed bullshit. Mm-hmm. And the frozen food section is getting, bombarded with these crazy creamers and these, like I stopped drinking creamers just because even the healthy vegan coconut milk creamers had like 15 ingredients in it.
Yeah. And all the different guar gums and just different
things. It's like I make my own milk now, and it's super easy. Oh, yeah. Because all you got to do is just blend almonds or cashews or oats, whatever you want. I have this thing called Almond Cow, which is a great machine. Oh,
cool! I've seen those.
Oh, they're gnarly, dude.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
You put all the shit in the basket, and you fill it up with just cold water. Put a little vanilla extract in there. Put the balloon in it. Press a button. 90 seconds, you got milk. And what's even crazier about it is because there's no processed shit in it. When it sits, I put it in the mason jar, big mason jar, and I put it because it looks trendy and cool. So when people come over, I could say, "Oh, there, check it out! It's in a mason jar."
My milk.
Yeah. You don't want to put it in a white container. No one's going to appreciate it.
No.
But what's even crazier about it is when it's in that clear mason jar in the fridge and people open it up, all the cashew shit settles at the bottom, and it's just this weird, like tan water.
Yeah.
So you got to stir it every time. But once you stir it, it's the greatest milk that you've had.
Yeah.
But you cannot put that on a shelf at Publix in a cooler. No one's going to buy that. It looks like vomit. Yeah. Right. But again, this is what we've been conditioned to, and you can get out of that and get to the point of like, I don't give a shit about what it looks like or even what it tastes. If you can get out of that, I don't care what it tastes like. If it's good for me, I'll consume it. And that's what you got to go off of. Like back in the day, people used to grab twigs and berries and eat them, not because it tasted like Parmesan, right?
Right.
They did it because it was all they had, and it was good for them. They knew eating from the earth was good.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, though, is it does, like, fruit tastes amazing. Like fruit, it does. Like it's
But tell that to my dad, Nick. My dad is, he's always said he's like allergic to strawberries, and I'm still suspect. Although I think he actually is deathly allergic. But still, he's, he doesn't eat greens. Like even lettuce, he'll only eat the romaine lettuce, an iceberg, which has zero nutritional value. But, he just doesn't like the taste of other stuff. And a lot of people are like that. Like you like fruit, of course, bro. Like you just had an ayahuasca trip. You don't give a shit about fucking chicken parmesan and pasta. Of course you like fruit. But, I love fruit. But a lot of people out there just, it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird people don't like fruit. But again, I think it's all has to do with palates, right? Like if you have been raised on SpaghettiOs and Tang, your palate's going to be different than someone over in Europe who's been raised off of fresh bread and, pasta. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is actually like our palate, like the tongue is one of the biggest producers of mucus, phlegm, mucus. And most people's tongue, if you look at their tongue, it's caked with white bacteria and stuff like that. And so like the tongue, yeah.
Let me see your tongue.
Exactly.
Hold on. Let me see your tongue. Fuck, your tongue's nicer than mine. What the hell's going on here?
Well, I've been cleaning out too.
Oh, okay.
For many, many weeks now.
Okay.
And actually that was one of the things that I got excited about is because I had, actually your tongue goes through phases. And one of the cool things, the connection is with your stomach and your tongue. So how your tongue looks is oftentimes like, they'll say like what's going on in your stomach. So if you have lots of mucus and things going on in your stomach, your tongue will be kind of caked with white. Now, here's the interesting thing. Speaking of palate, if somebody doesn't like fruit, the taste of fruit, oftentimes it's because they've gotten so far from human nature, from what we're naturally built to eat. Like humans are built to eat fruit. That's why we digest it so well, and it creates such a perfect human system. And so one of the interesting things is if you do work onto a transition diet. And transition diet is really important. And actually, so I've been saying Arnold Ehret. There's another person, and I have his books here, Spira, Professor Spira. So he did a couple variations of those books. So there's the mucusless diet by Arnold Ehret. I bought that instead of Spira's because I'm like, I want the original stuff. But turns out the original book kind of went through many revisions and edits, and iterations. So actually Professor Spira's version is the better version. So if you're going to get the book, get Professor Spira's mucusless diet or rational fasting.
So he's got the new commandments.
Yeah, because he actually went through and like he keeps it pure, to its original context, but he also like helps to pull out some of the other, like some people kind of added their own thing to the edit, like the publisher did. And he pulls those things out because he's actually been living the diet. And so he knows what's mucus forming, and one of the things I really appreciate about him, he's got interview on YouTube too, which is good, is he's hardcore for himself, but he talks about the transition diet for some people who need to go maybe a year or two transitioning onto this, not trying to force themselves into some kind of diet that because if you feel bad, like, sure. And I'm not talking about like when you clean out and cleanse, like you might have a day where you're sluggish and tired, like that's feeling bad, so to speak. But what I mean is, if you feel bad on a day-to-day basis emotionally, like you feel like you're, restricting yourself, and you feel like, this can be very depressing. Like actually, sometimes people going onto a vegan diet can get depressed because, and it's not necessarily the food, it's actually because they're fighting their mental cravings for these other foods.
That's right.
And so you shouldn't, you're not doing yourself any service by doing that either. And when I'm doing it, and if you do it through a transition diet, ultimately the cravings for those things will just dissolve. You won't have those cravings. You'll crave a fresh mango. I remember coming downstairs and just like, there was a bunch of food and I was fasting. And usually when I had fasted, I would crave like weird foods. I'd crave things that aren't good for me, pasta and noodles and things like that. I was like, oh man, I just want to like just gorge. And I remembered after a couple of weeks had gone by and I was fasting and I was on the like mucusless diet, eating fruit, salad, raw vegan the whole time, is I smelt some fruit and I was like, all I want is a banana. Like, I just want a friggin' banana. I just want some strawberries and mangoes, man. And so the cravings for fruit, have increased. And I enjoy this diet for many of the other reasons too, which I'd like to share some of those too, because that's that's what inspired me. Is there's certain things that you got to experience for yourself, because there's a lot of misinformation from scientists, diet scientists, who do these experiments and then they tell you need protein. You're going to be, there's going to be a deficit of B12. Look up those actual experiments and then look up the truth about those. Do some research on your own. I can only tell you so much, but you'll find out there's a lot of things that have been ridiculously studied and concluded and aren't true. But who they are true for? The lobbyists who pay these people lots of money in order to make them true. Yeah. So just check that out. So, but you can find that there's incredibly fit, incredibly healthy human beings living on fruit juice. Like, there's a couple examples of people who've taken it to the extreme where they live on air and fruit juice. It's incredible. And they're vibrant, healthy, strong, fit. People talk about, I need protein to build muscle. No, again, you don't. Your body needs the proper amino acids to create its own protein, but you don't need protein to create protein. And so, by the way, I'm still working out.
I fucking hate that argument just because I talk a lot about veganism on this.
Yeah.
And, even still, I never preach veganism, only because, I just like food and I appreciate food. The only reason I went plant-based was because of a chronic disease that I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. So that's the only thing that's given me relief, is to be plant-based. But the fact that you're going to tell me that you're not going to get protein from plants is crazy, because any animal you look at, most animals aside from carnivores, eat plants.
Yeah.
And they're massive and they're huge. And of course, they're not built like we are. Like a gorilla, I think, has like 2 stomachs. So it's not like they're the same thing as us. But a gorilla would beat the shit out of you. And, so would a monkey. And even though they're, and even though there's been some gnarly videos of like chimps ripping apart, other animals and eating them. And I get it. But, when you're out in the wild, you got to do what you got to do. You got to do it. But most of these animals eat plants. And, even your cows that you eat, they eat only plants and grass, and you eat them. Yeah. So what do you think they're mostly made of? So just go right to the plants, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the plants, and then, again, like fruits and things like that. And these things they don't have, again, high protein in them, but they have all the essential things for your body to build what it needs to. And so some of the things that happen, interestingly, I did fast, I would do a dry fast for 24 hours. And then I do, a little bit of water for like the next time. And I've done this twice now, just kind of like while I'm doing this diet. And then I would just clean out my system, just like without getting too detailed, drink a bunch of fruit juice and things, which immediately, and this isn't recommended. You read the book, don't listen necessarily to everything I've done with myself right now. Because if you're transitioning, you can't do this, because you can actually you can hurt yourself if you break a fast with fruit juice. But even incorporating just like removing mucus forming foods from your diet and transitioning to mucusless or mucus, totally mucusless or mucus deficient, foods. And there's a lot of different things in those books that you can read on what those things are that you can eat, make foods from, and then just working, towards it. And then maybe occasionally doing a 24-hour fast. Any of these things can be incredibly helpful to clean the system out. Doing a colonic, where, you do all that business, which I recently actually did my first one, went somewhere and had that. And it was incredible. I mean, won't get into too much detail, but
is that the one where you do the coffee upstairs?
I didn't do coffee. It was just water, but it was like 45 minutes of water. And it's just like, the stuff that comes out of you. And the cool thing is I was excited because I knew that it was going to be a big cleanse, because I did a dry fast and I was fasting that day. I didn't tell them, of course, because they might freak out. But I was like, well, this is going to be the perfect situation to clear out because there's no food digestion right now. It's just waste. And just the stuff that comes out of you is, you're like, oh my God, like I didn't even eat. And that's
still
all been in there for God only knows how long, just caked on mucus and mucoid plaques and things like that. And those are the things that are making us sick. Those are the things that are binding toxins, creating packets of, the perfect little environment for bacteria. It's another thing. It's unbelievable how many people in the civilized world have parasites they don't even know. A lot of people think parasites are for, third world countries or super tropical places. No, it's actually comes from how you're eating and what you're putting in your system. But anyways, where I wanted to go was after a very short time of doing this diet and just, cleaning out, and I was very intense about it, went raw vegan. Like the day I figured it out, I was like, raw vegan. I'm just there. I get it. This is what I'm doing. This is what I have to do to heal everything in my body and have the most abundant health. And so after 2 weeks of doing that, I realized some really interesting things. First of all, I mentioned in the beginning, chronic fatigue. Like I literally had to take a nap midday every single day, like from beginning of the year onward, at least, and probably pre-US too, but I had such bad fatigue. And it was like an hour and a half nap. I wake up, those naps, you wake up, you slept a lot, and then you feel worse when you wake up. You're just
for sure.
You got a headache, and you're like, I just want to keep sleeping, man. It takes like a half hour just to wake up.
All right.
So it'd be like that, but it was like a daily occurrence, which really, messes your day up. And just tons of caffeine in order just to support myself in the morning and throughout the day. Too much caffeine, like they say, I think it's like 300 milligrams is the max you want or something. I was easily at like 400. Yeah. I was easily at like 500, 600 milligrams.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, Starbucks alone, you get a venti. Not even, you get a tall. It's like 200 milligrams of caffeine.
Right.
And
so you have a couple of those. So
yeah, a couple of those. You got, I don't know if you're a soda drinker, but for soda drinkers out there, I mean, that's like 70 milligrams of caffeine. So yeah, a couple of drinks are already over the threshold.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But go ahead.
Oh yeah. So I was going to just share. So like that was kind of setting the stage for like where I was. Things were just, I was plateaued. Energy was crap. After doing this, I don't have, like, I've taken a nap maybe once in the last 3 weeks, and it was for 20 minutes. And I just kind of like laid down, and then I woke up and I was like, oh, that's great.
Nice.
And I didn't even really necessarily need it, but, so like just having energy, like waking up in the morning and feeling good, no caffeine. I don't need to drink caffeine anymore. Having energy through the whole day. And some days it's like, if I'm eating a lot of fruit and like no greens, mostly fruit, I actually get to the end of the night where I'll have to like somehow like find a way to calm down. And just like, I need to go to bed, man, but I have so much of this energy. So energy is a big thing. If you're somebody who struggles with chronic fatigue or just, feeling sluggish in general, eventually moving to this kind of diet helps. The other thing, and this will be a big one for folks that are like, but I want to work out. I love going to the gym and I want to have enough energy to work out. If I don't have, carbs, or if I don't have, all this protein in my system, I'll be tired or sluggish. I won't be able to work out. Well, I still work out every single day. I use a system called X3. It's one of my favorites.
Nice.
So I work out every single day. And what I found, which is interesting, is because how the system is like, you're basically using these giant, bands, and you're going to absolute fail and fatigue. And fatigue is one of the clear signs to me when your body has enough energy in its muscular system in order to like, how many sets can you go, or not sets, but reps can you go before you like fail? Like if you can only go 15, well, your muscles didn't have as much energy if you can go longer. And so I found is actually continuing this workout, I've been able to use the same bands and go much more reps.
So you're getting stronger.
So I'm getting stronger, but also like the energetic setup of it is like my muscles are much more efficient at using this energy.
Right.
And it's still growth. So you can still be
Wait,
strong.
and you're not eating like bison meat and cows
I'm
all the
not
time?
eating bison or liver or spleens
Yeah.
or any of that weird stuff.
Fucking Liver King. Don't get me started on that guy.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But I mean, what you're saying, there's a lot of good nuggets in there. And of course, disclaimer right here, right? We have to make sure we do that.
Yeah.
Disclaimer is going to be don't listen to Nick or Tony because they're not professionals. However, I will tell you this is based off of what I've known in the health and wellness industry, and currently what I do and what I've done in the past is every person is different for sure. But you also kind of have to look at if you go to the doctor and they tell you what to do, they're telling you what to do based off a book that they read. And a lot of that has been taught to them over the years. And unless you find a doctor that's really diligent about changing up everything all the time, the best way to, I don't want to say self-diagnose, but you got to listen to your body. And what happens to your body today at the age of 25, something different is going to happen when you're 45. And your doctor is going to be reading from the same book. You have to be the expert in your body, and you have to do a lot of trial and error, and you have to figure out what's good and what's bad. And the doctors don't always tell you the right information because, honestly, everybody's different. And what works for Nick might not work for Tony, and what works for us might not work for you. So I think it's important that you do see doctors, of course, and you listen to professionals, but you don't be afraid to get out of the realm a little bit, because just one person ago, your grandmother ago, doctors were prescribing cigarettes. And doctors were on ads of magazines saying cigarettes are good for you and extend shelf life of your body. So we've been wrong in the past, Slavery was cool back in the day. It's not anymore. We're always learning. And that's because humans naturally, we just learn new information. And sometimes we're stupid and sometimes we're smart. So you can rely on someone else to tell you what you need to do for your body, or you could take this for what it is, which is serious, and take care of your body the right way and put as much energy into your body as you do TikTok, and you're going to be fine. But, it's important to take all this stuff into account. And I think what you said is accurate when it comes to like food and fruits and veggies in particular, because you don't need all this stuff that we think we need. And, when you can get your body out of that routine of eating at the Cheesecake Factory every Friday night with your coworkers, if you can get out of that routine, you're going to feel a lot better. And a lot of the stress and the anxiety that we feel and depression that comes, a lot of that is what we do to our body. And that's not just food, but just in general, right? Like how we treat our body. If you're not working out, if you're not walking around after meals, if you're not intaking a lot of water, like have you ever gone like a full day of like eating like shit and like the next day you just feel like hungover?
Yeah.
Right? Like that used to happen to me all the time. I didn't know what it was, but there's a reason why you eat food and it's shitty food and then you want to take a nap afterwards. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, that's not. That's a clear sign that you've eaten something that your body is not digesting quickly and it's not digesting efficiently.
Yeah. And all the nutrients that you find in like ginger and turmeric and fruits and veggies and all these things, if you break them down nutritionally and you figure out what's in those things and you compare that to like a Big Mac at McDonald's, there's more nutrition in a sliver of broccoli than there is an entire burger at McDonald's. Yeah. So what does that tell you? That should be like a clear sign where it's like, hold on, wait a minute. What, Tony? We need to all stop eating fast food. No, but we're stuck in this routine, man. We're stuck in this fucking routine of going through the drive-thru after work because you don't want to cook dinner. But the reason you don't want to cook dinner is because you're tired, because you had a shitty day, because you ate like shit and dosed yourself with a bunch of caffeine that's artificial.
Right.
It's interesting our mind, because the more and more I dive into research and the more I've, been vegan and plant-based, and just the more you dive into it, it does really open up your mind a little bit. And you start appreciating not just the food, but like what you're surrounding yourself with. It's
absolutely.
It's interesting, man. It's kind of terrifying that you would think it's common sense, right? Like I tell all my friends, they're like, how do you do it? Like, how do you eat healthy and also work out and also do a podcast? You know, and I just started this business too with my wife. And then I also have a full-time job too. So thanks, man.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we're doing all these things. I'm like, how do you do it? It's because I don't eat like shit and I work out. That's how. There's no secret. I am not smarter than you. I'm probably actually a lot dumber than most people, but it's because I take care of my body. So I have the natural energy to fucking do all this cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the biggest thing too, is like, I had all these, I have, businesses, clients, things like this. And I had a project that I was really passionate about and wanted to create, but then I'd get to the end of the day, I'd be so exhausted. I'd have maybe 20 minutes of push left. It was like willing myself to do it. I wasn't even excited about it. Rarely was. And then on the weekend, maybe I'd be able to do something. And so you're absolutely right. It's like, if you're somebody who has passions outside of your job that you'd love to have your own side hustle, or you'd love to create your own business someday, but you just don't feel like you have enough energy. It's like what you just said. Exactly. You got to take care of your body. You got to get your body to that place. And the biggest thing, this is just like the crown jewel of, advice that anyone could receive, who's, kind of just been in a chronic situation of not health. And this, at least for me, this is something that I never did, but I've seen a lot of people do, which was come to a point of accepting where they're at as their bar of normal. That's just how things are going to be, and that's acceptable. And the thing is that I was fortunate about is like through 2 years of just chronically feeling shitty and having, skin stuff and whatever, is I never came to a point where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to have to find a way to live with this. And this is just kind of like my new reality. And I think that that's the biggest thing. If somebody has already accepted where they're at, it's time to surround yourself, like you said, surround yourself with people, or at the very least, information that doesn't reaffirm your current situation.
That's right.
And that shows you that no matter how bad things are right now, like people have gone from chronic sicknesses, cancers, etc., to vibrant health, incredible health through not just this diet, but many other situations. Most of them, raw vegan, most of them outside of the status quo diet of the American diet. Yeah. And so understanding that no matter how bad things are, you can have incredible and vibrant health. That's the first step to this whole thing. Cause then now you're like, okay, I don't accept sickness. I accept health, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to study all this stuff. I'm going to try whatever in order to achieve that. Yeah. Have that energy, have that life.
Yeah. It's not only people don't put just more time into it, but I get it, man. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff out there, and the attitude of YOLO. I want to, I want to live every moment, and I want to drink margaritas and lay on the beach and just get skin cancer. And that's what I want to do. And I mean, that sounds fun, but you also got to think, how long can you do that for?
Yeah.
Like realistically, if I gave you $1 million, listener out there, if I gave you $1 million today, what would you do? I bet 90% of you would say, I'm going to travel the world and I'm going to drink my face off and I'm going to eat all the greatest food. Okay. How long physically do you think your body could do that for? 6 months? A year? Let's say it's 5 years. Okay, it's 5 years. You're 40 years old now. What the fuck are you going to do for the next 40 years? You going to always drink margaritas on the beach till you're 80? Like, get out of here. Like, we have to get out of this YOLO mentality, but, I don't know what it is. Cardi B, rappers, someone put it in our head that it was cool. I wish I can give credit to the douchebag that came up with that, but we got to get out of that mindset, man. And here's the YOLO. I'll lay this down and then we'll have to wrap it up. But here's the YOLO. The YOLO is Earth. That's your YOLO, man. You only live once. Whoever came out with that stupid slogan meant that they want to drink and party and bang chicks, most likely. Again, I don't know who came up with it. But here should be your YOLO. You're on the planet Earth. As far as we know, we're the only planet in the galaxy, nay, in the universe, nay, in existence. As far as we know, there is infinity upon infinity galaxies out there. We haven't seen any other civilization out there. So we are it, as far as we know. I'm sure that's not the case, but as far as we know, the fact that you aren't living every moment to appreciate the roof above your head, the people around you, your body that you only have one of, the fact that you're not doing that, that's a disservice, man. It's a disservice to the human race because you're almost treating it like there's another life. And no matter what you believe, trust me, we're getting into ayahuasca, but no matter what you believe out there, even if there is another life where you're a better human and you're a different being and things are great, it's still not going to be here. You're not going to be with your girlfriend, at least at the same time, depending on what you believe. You're not going to be Tony or Nick. Like, you're not going to be able to live in a moment where we can have the internet at the palm of our hands. You're never going to be in this moment. Don't worry about all the bullshit that you're going to deal with in the future. Don't worry about all the bullshit you dealt with in the past. Live in the moment, live in today, and appreciate what we have. And I think, if more people got to that mentality of just appreciating what we got and stop worrying about all the other bullshit, like, you're going to live a healthier life for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
absolutely.
Dude, I do want to get into ayahuasca for sure, but I didn't realize we're like over an hour.
Yeah, we're over an hour now, and that's over an hour.
Yeah,
conversation.
I was gonna say, because I don't want to do the disservice of ayahuasca like 10 minutes. Like we need to make a whole episode about it.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Yeah, because you said you did how many tours?
Oh, I've been to many. I've been to Peru too, so I've got experiences over there. I got stories over there that are wild. Dude.
Let's plan the next few days, or maybe next week or something like that if you got the time. Let's just do a straight pot, and I'll separate these, of course, for the listener out there. Cool. So
yeah, that's perfect.
Just make sure listener subscribe to the podcast so you'll get updates on that. But Nick, dude, it's always good talking to you, man. It's been too long. I've enjoyed, watching your reels and your Instagram and stuff, and it does seem like you've changed a lot.
Thanks, man.
Which is for people that maybe are dealing with some shit in their life, it goes to tell you that whether you do some trippy shit or change up your lifestyle, but there's certain things you can do to increase longevity of life. Of course, we know that, but also there's a couple tweaks you can make in your life to just make it better, make it more fulfilling.
Yeah.
Right. And they're not complicated. They don't cost money. You don't need to buy them on Amazon. You just got to do these little tweaks, and it looks like you've tweaked some stuff, and it looks like you've grown and changed and stuff. So that's cool, man. It's good to see.
Thank you. And it's interesting you say that too, is you do say it seems like fruits and raw stuff is so expensive. It's like, yeah, but only if you're adding it onto all the other stuff you do. But actually, if you stop going out to eat, you're going to save a lot more money by eating healthier, feeling better. So
crazy, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty wild how that happens.
All right, well, everyone else, give it up for Nick one more time, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta use these soundboards more. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, I like your soundboards. You definitely gotta make use of those. Get some additional ones.
Nick, thanks again. I'll text you after this. But thanks for the time, man. Appreciate you sharing what you've been through. And we'll talk again.
My pleasure. And thanks for having me on. It's been
always
great.
A pleasure, dude.
Thank you.
All right, peace. Bye, ladies and gentlemen.